Hi there, Scorpio. How are you guys doing? I really hope that this video finds you well. Welcome to your weekly reading, back with me again. Anisa from the Inner Stairway. For those of you already to my channel, hello, and for those of you have been a long time, welcome back. So we're gonna do a pick a card reading by the end of the session. Don't forget to check your sun, moon, rising, or Venus sign. And this is a general reading, so the roles might actually get reversed. And because it's a general reading, so the reading might also not resonate with you. And there's so many amazing, talented tarot readers out there for you to just click and watch, all right? So let's start now, Scorpio. So you have a Three of Swords there, you have the Seven of Pentacles, and you also have the Knight of Wands in reverse. So I feel that there's like a lot of turmoil that is going on within you because, you know, the Knight of Wands in reverse is sometimes like indications of like a young Aries or a young Sagittarius people and everything like that, and every time they kind of like not control their emotions. But I feel that you moved past it because you've been dealing with the hurt kind of like quite a lot, and you kind of like already read it down on your book of sins. You see here? So there is this Three of Swords, there is this hurt, and you already wrote it down in the book of sins, and you feel that it's kind of like useless for you guys to pander around it any longer, so you decided to kind of like turn your backs around it and then just kind of like focus on any other things in your life. You might be focusing a lot on your money, or you might be focusing on, you know, like new relationship that is to come, or you might be focusing on your creative pursuit, but anything that got to do with you being grounded and mindful and enjoying what you have in the now. So I think right now, you know, in the weeks to come, you guys are kind of like practicing the power of now. So what is the overall challenge of your relationship sector? The first one is you have the King of Cups, and you also have the Three of Cups. So one person in this relationship is being either emotionally unavailable or they are emotionally manipulative, and you have the Three of Cups, and here it means that the friendship aspect of the relationship is already gone. So what I mean by friendship aspect is that, you know, when you're in a relationship, you come at a point where you trust this person with your whole life, right? And that's what we're talking about, the friendship aspect. So it's like loyalty, utmost trust and everything like that. And I feel that in terms of this relationship sector, it's kind of like decreasing in amount. So yeah, and Three of Cups can also indicate like a third party situation going on in here, and whoever that is doing that because of emotional manipulation. So it could be that maybe your partner is trying to make you jealous because they're trying to get a rise out of you, or they're trying to get like an emotional reactions out of you, or it could be you doing this to them. Again, this is vice versa. So what happened in the past is that they have the Queen of Wands and also the Sun card. So this relationship kind of like really fulfilled them on their soul level, up to the point it's like your love was able to make them feel extremely confident. You know, like when things are great, when things are good, your attention, your intensity, your obsession, and everything like that was able to make them feel extremely good about themselves, up to the point that they kind of like have this feeling when everything was good, you know, they feel like a god or like a goddess because they just feel so beautiful, they just feel so good, they feel so confident with themselves and all that stuff. And you're very, very attracted to them, you know what I mean? I don't know, like for some reason I feel that there's this feeling inside of you because you got the Nine of Pentacles in here. So it's like, I'm willing to do anything for you as long as you're happy, because this is in a correlation with this one. You know, this is you. You're the Nine of Pentacles, right? And they're like the Sun card. So you're willing to give anything to them as long as they're happy, as long as you see them smile, as long as you lift them up and all of those stuff. You're also intrigued by them. It was a very, very full-on, passionate type of love. It was very, very warm. So it's very, very passionate. It's very, very lustful. It's all those stuff. There's something beautiful about them that you like. It's either their smell or like their hair or whatever that is. It's just kind of like makes you feel extremely passionate. And every time you see them, especially when they're in a certain way, it's like it kind of like get you turned on in some ways too. But the thing is that because of the intensity of the connections and all that stuff, like in the middle of it, you have the Nine of Swords. So there's like a lot of overthinking from your part and also from their part. There's like a lot of fear of being vulnerable with one another, simply because we're still on a stage where it's still Wands. You know what I mean? Wands is like something that is passionate, but it's like it dies down really, really quickly. So you might question, and they also might question the permanence of this relationship, and can we keep up this type of intensity for quite a long time? Because, you know, face it, with that type of intensity, I'm pretty sure you've had this before. Like every time you feel so intensely about somebody, there is this level of, I don't know, like fear of vulnerability that we have, right? So let's see what happens in it now. Queen of Pentacles. Ooh, Queen of Swords in reverse. Oh, both of you are Swords people in reverse. They're the Queen of Swords and you guys are the King of Swords. It's like both of you are, again, as I mentioned earlier, is like you both are writing the sins and the mistakes of each other and kind of like keeping tabs on them or keeping scores on them and everything like that. And if they were to come around to you, they need to explain like a lot of stuff to you to convince you to trust them again. And so do you, because they already made like a lot of assumptions about you too. If you guys are dealing with one person, oh, there's like a lot of mind games going on in here, Scorpio. A lot and a lot. I mean, you from a Knight of Pentacles, which is Mars and Virgo, becoming a Page of Cups, which is a very, very Neptunian type of card. So, you know, traditional Rider-Waite Tarot Page of Cups is like when you catch the first fish that you caught, and then you're willing to give it to them because that's just how much you love them. And them themselves too, you're the person who they see a long-term stability with. But the problem is, like both of you are in this stage, Page of Pentacles. And then Page of Pentacles in this particular deck of mine is a bit, you know, hesitant to make decisions about which way he wants to choose. Whether he wants to go that way or whether he wants to go this way. And Page of Pentacles is letting luck, is letting fate, is letting time to reveal everything else. It's like your heart is like wanting to reach out to one another, but it's just like there's this mind, and then you have your ego, you have your fears, you have your fear of vulnerability, kind of like fighting there, but it's like your heart is super duper wanting to connect with one another. They're addicted to you. But again, because of that intensity, it creates fear. You know what I mean? That means 5 cards in the future. We'll go to the 2 people scenarios right after the 1 person scenarios, all right? So if you guys are dealing with 2 people, hang in there. We're doing your reading in the second portion of this reading. 2 of Swords, 3 of Wands in reverse. Hermit card, Emperor card in reverse, and also the Knight of Cups. Let's see what we have here. Lovers card in reverse. See, one of the problem of this relationship is like the lack of communications. You can see the Lovers card in reverse in here, and with a lack of communications, it could also indicate like 2 people who has so much similarities. It could be like a twin flame connection as well. Drift apart from one another because they are unable to get out of the spirit of mental entrapment. I want to clarify something first. I see. So what I could actually sense in the future is that there's going to be like a little bit of a switch. Like in and now, you guys are like Page of Cups. You're still kind of like hopeful. You guys are kind of like still optimistic about this connections and all of those stuff, right? You kind of like still daydream about it or fantasize about it somehow, and you kind of like still holding on to maybe the words, as I said, about what type of future you guys are going to be having together, like how many kids you're going to have, what type of house you're going to have, and everything like that. You're still holding on to that. Do they want the same thing? And I said they do, but they want more tangible action. The thing is that whoever it is that you're dealing with, they care a lot more about the mundane thing instead of, you know, exploring each other's emotional depth. They care a lot more about, okay, I see you as a long-term potential. So what is it that can we do together to ensure that we will have that future together? So it's much more of a mundane activities, something that you feel lacked in depth. Forcing them to care a lot more about emotional depth is like pulling a fish out of the water, because that's just not how their personality is, and that's just not how their main focus is. They work or operate in a different ways than you guys are. I mean, you guys, from loyalty and trust, only then it could motivate you to do what they ask you to do. But for them, those mundane activities are the one that they ask for, so that they are willing to go down to the emotional depth that you require them to be in. You know what I mean? It's kind of like such a shame, though. I mean, like the only problem that I see here is like the lack of communications, the inability of two people, especially if you guys are only dating one person, the lack of ability of two people really communicating what is it that they find hard in this relationship, what is it that they feel that their partner is causing them to be in this state of mental entrapment. So what happens in the future is that you are going to realize that working on this relationship is such a heavy burden for you guys, because you guys are the 10 of Wands. So you've been carrying around this burden for quite a while, and you have had it. I mean, there's going to be a period of time within 1 week or 2 weeks to come where you feel very, very impulsive, or where you feel like extremely angry because the person that you're dealing with is a little bit vague. Is like a little bit vague, and you cannot get like a proper read on them. You cannot see from their actions or from their efforts or from their communications or what have you that they are choosing you and you guys are a priority. So you're going to be extremely angry about it. And then you have the Emperor card in reverse in here. So you're going to be doing stuff out of impulse, I must say. Out of impulse. So be careful with your impulses. Be careful with your anger, because you're going to be doing stuff that going to extremely emphasize your boundaries and what is it that they cannot cross. I mean, it's a good thing for you to communicate that, but like communicating it impulsively and not thinking, you know, your actions or your words is like a little bit reckless. I should say so myself, you know what I mean? So careful of that impulsiveness. I mean, if you can, I think you need to kind of like control it a little bit. Especially if you still want to work on your relationship with this person, because once you lash out, once that anger comes through, it's like, oh boy, like, see, I don't see the future with Scorpio any longer, because they're like the 3 Wands in reverse, you know, like they just don't see ship coming into their port. And I kind of like sense that out of that anger, I mean, like anger operates in a such high frequency that in that moment we could actually convince ourselves that we don't need this person anymore, and we don't care about them anymore, and there's so many fish in the water. So you will have the tendency to actually give your cup of love to somebody else, or maybe just like flirt with somebody, because you kind of like is very angry. Let's see the pick a card reading about what type of advice that you should take. But like from here on, you know, especially with the Hermit card in the center of your reading, it's really calling you to just like, you know, take a step back and just kind of like meditate and reflect upon yourself. Have a more conversation with yourself. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want, so that you don't regret your actions later on? Because even though You have that Emperor card in reverse, and here again, it's a fire energy, right? It's Emperor is a fire energy. But the root, the source, which is you, your heart, your soul, what you want, is still undecided. I just don't want you to be making like a decisions that you're going to be regretting afterwards. So careful with that, all right, Scorpio? So I'm going to put a timestamp right over here when the pick card reading starts. So now we're moving on to the two people scenario. So if you guys are dealing with only one person and not two people, you could just skip ahead and move forward to the pick card reading. So now let's talk about if you guys are dealing with two people. I would say it's the same with the one person scenarios. The higher advice is that I think you need to take a step back from a relationship for a while and just like figure out what is it that you want in your life. What type of thing do you want? Because I could see you, especially if you guys are dealing with two people, being super duper confused. Person A is somebody who you'd give your whole life to. You'd give your whole act of service to just to make them happy. You know what I mean? Like anything that they need, is just like you're ready to give it to them because you just like to see them happy. You just like to see a smile on their face. You just like it when you see them like being very, very bubbly and joyful. You know the power that you had on them. You know that with your attentions and everything like that, you kind of like raise their self-esteem somewhat. So in the now, they're asking like more stabilities with you, especially with the Queen of Pentacles. If you were to ask me, what does this person think about me, Anisa? I would say that if you were to ask them, who, among other probable options that they have, who do they think they're able to settle down with? It's going to be you. But they're requiring a much more tangible action. So they might kind of like throw like a little bit hints in there about like possible moving in together, or like an engagement, or maybe like a marriage, or maybe like buying a house together or whatever. Like they're kind of like throwing hints on that. And I think you guys are pretty optimistic with your relationship with them in the future, in the now too. But in the future, you're going to kind of like sense that this person is like a little bit vague and undecided when it comes to you. They cannot come into the emotional depth that you're asking for. That is why I think with them, you're going to act like a little bit impulsively and you're going to be a little bit frustrated with them. Yeah, because you just can't get a read on them. Like this person is, you think this person is like a little bit wishy-washy. You don't know what the hell is it that they want. The feeling is still there though. It's just like the friendship aspect is already gone. See, it's the Five of Cups in here. So you might lash out on them in the future, Scorpio. All right. So that's person A. Person B is just somebody who you consider as being extremely hot. You think that this person is just like a god or a goddess. This person might have like a planet touching either your first, fifth, or eighth house, because it's very, very sexual. It's very, very like, holy shit, like they might not be the physical type that you usually like, but it's just like something about them make you feel like, holy moly, like, wow, I'm so attracted to you type of energy, you know what I mean? But the thing is that it's fire, you know what I mean? When we're talking about fire, we could talk about lust, we could talk about passion, we could talk about motivation, we could talk about communication, but we could also talk about ego, you know what I mean? And I kind of like see you guys both are kind of like mind fucking one another right now. Cause it's just like the attraction is just so scary. You know what I mean? It's so scary. It's so intense that you have a problem of deciding what the hell you want to do with it, whether you could be vulnerable with this person or not. And they also have a trouble of doing that. So right now you guys are just like mind fucking each other. Playing mind games with each other, mental manipulations, probably like silencing, disappearing act, ghosting, or I don't know, something that got to do with mind fucking one another, you know, just to kind of like make them feel like a little bit confused, who's going to give in first, who's going to give in last, and everything like that. You have a much more staying power than they do, because I think what they're doing now is just kind of like a bluff and everything like that. And then in the future, this person is kind of like wanting to give up on that because it's kind of like a scary, it's just scary. So once they kind of like, you sense that they're kind of like giving up, I kind of like actually see you be the one who reached out to them first and offer a little bit of a flirtations here and there, a little bit of a nice words. I'm not going to say you're not going to give them your love. I don't think you're at a level where you trust them enough, but you're going to be like the Nine of Cups. And Nine of Cups is like, well, sweet, very sweet, very endearing. You just know. I mean, like the attraction is so intense that even if you guys touch each other, you know what you could do to make this person happy, or what you could do to make this person, like, you can draw them back in again. You just have that. I don't know. There's something about you guys that just have that type of crazy connection. All right. So now let's move on to the pick a card reading. All right, Scorpio. So I have 4 piles of cards with me now. This is pile number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to give you guys 20 seconds of silence so that you guys could concentrate. And please, as much as you can, just pick like one pile of cards so you don't end up getting confused. All right. All right, so for those of you who chose pile number 1, let's see. You have the 4 of Pentacles, you have the 6 of Swords, you have the 2 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups, and also the 10 of Swords. Let me arrange this for you first, and then we're going to connect it with our previous reading. You see, Scorpio, believe it or not, our mood, our energy, our temptations, our ways of thinking and everything like that has to do with astrology. And I feel that in 4 days to 6 weeks to come, you will have like a very, very big temptation to go back to whoever it is that you're dealing with. You're walking down that memory lane, but what are you doing that? Why are you doing that? You're only causing hurt for yourself. You're dealing with somebody who is much more like a 4 of Pentacles. This person is very, very calculating. If you are actually in a marriage, this person is actually planning on hiding their assets or resources, or maybe getting like a custody or what have you. Very, very calculating, and this person doesn't trust you at all. 4 of Pentacles in traditional Rider-Waite Tarot, you have like a person who is like holding on to things and protecting their heart chakras all along. This is I don't feel like they're going to open up to you. You coming back to them is just going to it's just going to create like a lot more hurt for you guys. I mean, look at this. The 6 of Swords is running back towards this 4 of Pentacles person. You can see that this lady right here choosing to shut her eyes, and then, the one who steered the boat is actually a blind person there. You might have this belief that maybe this is your soulmate, or maybe this is your karmic relationship. Maybe there is something. I just feel that you're looking too much into it, and sometimes when you're looking too much into something that we're too hopeful of, it could delude us. So careful of that. There's so many swords in here, so it's your thoughts too. Like, you can't get them out of your head. And it's going to get intensified in the 4 days to 6 weeks to come. But what's the end result? When you walk down that memory lane, what's the end result? You're just going to end up hurting yourself. Why? Because the person that you're dealing with hasn't changed at all. Still the 4 of Pentacles and also the 2 of Pentacles. This person doesn't trust you at all. This person might juggle you with somebody else, or maybe they're the type of person who like to maladaptive daydream. So they have like a figure inside of their head that is like their ideal soulmate or whatever that is, and you're competing against something that is just non-existent. There could be 2 explanations for that, but it's just that, why would you want to do that? And then this person does like a lot of triangulations, or a third. When I mean triangulation, it doesn't necessarily mean like a third party situation, but it's like the act of... Sorry guys, it's just like switched up all of a sudden. I don't know what happened. But what I mean by, triangulation is like the act of comparing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can't do this. Oh, my mother could actually do this. You can't do this, my cousin, my ex, everything like that. There's always this. And what is the end goal of triangulations? Is to kind of like crush your self-esteem so that you guys are in their control. Do you really want to give up your control? Do you really want to give up your power like that? I don't think so, right? They won't change, Scorpio. It's difficult for them to change. 4 is a stable foundation. They've been like that their whole life. And ask yourself, is the reason why you're coming back to them is because they're your familiarity or because they're your comfort zone? And it's hard for you to start anew because like you were so used of being in love with them, of catering to them, of thinking about them. That's kind of like one of the habits that you need to break, because otherwise I could actually see you hung up on this relationship for 2 straight years. All right? Right, so that's for those of you who chose pile number 2. I really need to look at my camera, what happened. So then you have the Hangman, pile number 2, Hangman, 10 of Wands, 4 of Wands, and also the Queen of Cups. If you guys are dealing with a Pisces or a Sagittarius, I kind of like sense that this person is going to come up to you and then they're going to do all the work, maybe like a little bit of a begging, maybe like a little bit of an effort into this relationship, just because like they want to make like an unbreakable vow with you. They want to either reconcile or they want to make things better. And then the way for you to go about it is like to become like the Queen of Cups, be a good listener, be like an empathic person who kind of like, oh, I understand your point of view, like kind of like open your mind whenever they try to explain their behavior, what it is that they're doing. However, if you're not dealing with the Pisces or even a Sagittarius, the only way, like if this is what you want, right, because you have free will. If you want this relationship to work, then you're going to be the person who is going to go through them, walk to them, talk to them first. Meet them as an equal. Actually, no, meet them as you are like the Queen of Cups, somebody who is a much more emotionally mature, somebody who has like a lot more emotional wisdom, and you're willing to listen to them, and then you're willing to kind of like be the leadership, to take part as a leadership position in this relationship, to kind of like make promises to one another, because I feel that this relationship is kind of like quite fixable. Okay, so again, if you guys are dealing with Pisces and Sagittarius, they're going to be doing this work to you. However, if you're not dealing with those 2 signs, then I'm afraid you're going to be the one who has to do that if you want to make this relationship work, right? You have free will, you have free choice. So that is it for those of you who chose pile number 2. Let's move on to pile number 3. So you have the Page of Pentacles, you have the 10 of Cups, you have the Queen of Pentacles, and then you also have the 5 of Pentacles. So in here, it talks about adjustment of our expectations or managing our expectations really, really well. As I mentioned earlier with our previous reading, is that the idea of this, collective happiness, loyalty, sharing our cups together, emotional depth, and everything like that is extremely, extremely foreign to them. This person might be like coming off as, they might give you like this kind of like spoiled brat type of energy or aura, because like, why would I want to do things like that? You know what I mean? Very traditionalist, very pragmatic. Like for instance, if you're interested in astrology or tarot, you're going to feel as if like they're undermining you, and they're like, why do you believe in those stuff? Because that's just who they are. There's nothing that you could change about it. It's a character, it's a personality. So if you're focusing so much on emotional depth and then 10 of Cups, you will always end up getting extremely disappointed. So if you want to make this relationship work, I think it's about managing expectations. It's the fact that you can't change anybody. They're who they are. You are who you are. So you talk to them and like, hey, this is me. I would be very, very glad if you would respect me in my preferences and what I like and everything like that. And I would respect you back. What they care about the most is like, it's kind of like similar to the previous reading I did. It was like the mundane activities of a day-to-day basis. So it's like they're going to text you or look out for you and then like ask like how are you doing and everything like that. But there is a lack of depth there. Like you want more, you want some emotional depth, something that I don't think you could get from these pentacle person. You might be dealing with an earth sign here. Aries, sorry, Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn. Or somebody with like a very, very heavy earth placement. The idea of what you want is so foreign to them. Extremely foreign. They're probably like direct. They're probably like a little bit stiff. A little bit awkward socially, or maybe like a spoiled brat. You kind of like feel that they're such a spoiled brat, not somebody that you could kind of like take on an adventure or a spiritual retreat or like a hiking together and everything like that. That's just not how they roll. So if you want to make this work, I think it's just like you having to manage your expectations, because if you were to expect them to change to be who you want them to be, you're always going to end up getting completely disappointed. You know, the Five of Pentacles in here. It's about meeting in the middle, Scorpio. And if you ever feel insulted as if like they're undermining you or what have you, I really do think that you need to communicate it to them too, because they're not aware that they're doing it to you. They're just not aware. All right, so that is it if you guys chose pile number 3. Now let's move on to those of you who chose pile number 4. You have the Knight of Wands, you have the Four of Swords, you have the Seven of Swords, you have the Judgment card, and you also have the Fool card here. So let's talk. If you guys are dealing with a fire sign or an air sign or a Capricorn, it's best for you to just kind of like take a journey on yourself, embark on a journey on yourself, and just kind of like follow whatever it is that you want to do with your life, focusing a lot on yourself. Why? Because I feel that the needs and the wants of your partner versus you is a completely different thing. It's not that they don't care, it's just that they don't think much about it. Knight of Wands is just somebody who comes and goes. Like every time there's a challenge, every time there's a prey and everything like that, they would come, they would conquer, and then they would go. Not that they don't care. They are interested in you, but not in a level that you want them to be. So you would have like a lot of trust issues with this person, because every time that they're gone, you're like, is your mind going somewhere else? Like you're assuming the worst, you know what I mean? And how long can you take this? How long can you actually be living in that situation? That's kind of like the whole point, right? That's kind of like the whole idea. So you need to resurrect yourself out of the situation and kind of like switch your focus from being extremely relationship-minded person with this person to somebody who just have like, you know, starts from zero again and have like a more in-depth relationship with yourself. You don't have to break up with them, but I feel that it's kind of like the call for you to pay like a lot of more attention to yourself, because I feel that you've been giving up a lot of your care, a lot of your attentions, a lot of your time, a lot of your energy in regards to, you know, giving it to somebody else, and you forgot to feed yourself. You forgot to give that water of love to yourself. So try to do that first and kind of like manage your expectations if you're dealing with, again, with a fire sign, with an air sign, or with a Capricorn. All right, so I think that is it for my reading for you, Scorpio. I really hope that you find tons and tons of clarity that you've been looking for. I really do hope that you have a great week ahead. All right, bye-bye, guys. Have a great day. I love you.